The good teammate to me makes everybody around him better. And what I mean by that is they're there for everybody. So I can be a bench player and not even play much, but they participated in protecting the environment, that it was a championship environment. Your responsibility is to the other players in this clubhouse that you're doing everything you can to help us achieve. And to me, those are the players that are the most valuable.
Hey guys, welcome to the Advocate Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hannaford, and in today's episode, I'm thrilled to be joined by Bill Geivett, a baseball executive with over 3 decades of experience across all levels of the game. Bill's journey in baseball has been extensive, from college athlete to player, coach, scout, and front office executive. Bill's career began at Sacramento City College and the University of Santa Barbara, where he earned All-American honors. After being drafted by the Angels, Bill played in the minor leagues before his career was cut short by a knee injury. Following his playing days, Bill transitioned into coaching with LMU and then Long Beach State. In 1991, Bill joined the New York Yankees as a scout, and from 94 to 96, he led the Montreal Expos farm system, which was named the Organization of the Year in 1996. Bill's journey continued with roles as special assistant to the GM of the Tampa Bay Rays and later as assistant GM with the LA Dodgers. In 2000, the Colorado Rockies hired Bill, where his leadership played a pivotal role in the team's success, culminating in the Rockies' first ever World Series appearance in 2007. Bill ultimately served as a senior VP of Major League Operations for the Rockies, making a significant impact on their operations and player development, as well as running the Major League club. In addition to his extensive career at the Major League level, Bill is also the author of the book, Do You Want to Work in Baseball? A practical guide offering advice on acquiring employment in MLB and mentorship in scouting and player development. This book reflects Bill's commitment to helping others enter the baseball industry and succeed in a career that spans scouting, coaching, and operations. Today, Bill is the founder and the CEO of I'm a Team. He is a respected speaker, consultant, and mentor. His knowledge continues to shape the future of baseball, providing invaluable advice to players, coaches, and organizations alike. In this episode, we're going to dive into Bill's incredible career and unpack key takeaways, like the evolution of baseball analytics and the practical application of data in decision-making. We talk about the immense pressures on decision makers in baseball and how team chemistry and cohesion are vital for postseason success. We talk about the challenges that middle market teams face in player acquisition and development. We discuss key insights into the scouting process, player development, and how to foster a championship mindset in youth baseball players in the minor leagues. Bill's experience with the draft process and the unpredictable nature of scouting young talent is another topic that we cover. We also talk about the mental toughness, the pressures of professional baseball, and how players can succeed both on and off the field. As Bill shares advice on coaching, mentorship, and fostering both skill development and love for the game, this episode is packed with valuable guidance for parents and players looking to navigate the path to baseball and the success in it. Whether you're a parent, whether you're a coach, or you're an aspiring player, Bill Geivett's vast experiences and perspective on the game will leave you with actionable advice for advancing in youth baseball and beyond. I hope you guys enjoy my episode with my friend, Bill Geivett. All right, everybody, we are joined today by a very special guest. This is a man that I've known for a long time. Somebody who actually went to the same junior college as I did a few years before me, not that long before me,
Yeah,
2 years before, but
stop, will you?
This man's name is Bill Geivett. For those of you listening who have heard his name before, it was most likely when he was the senior VP of Major League Operations for the Colorado Rockies. But before that, obviously a professional player yourself. We call you Gaivo. You also were a coach. And today you are the CEO and founder of I Am a Team. Gaivo, thanks for coming on, man.
Not at all, Matt. It's my pleasure to be with a Panther and Gaucho.
I love it. So Gaivo, you obviously played, and not to age you, but in the 80s, right? That was when you played professional baseball.
Right after the war, I like to say.
I love that. But as you look at the game today, and even when you were working with the Rockies, what is the biggest thing that jumps out at you as being different?
Well, I got to take you back to like when I started and was scouting with the Yankees, and we were actually using, Bill James had just created runs created. I think was the first type of analytics study that we had seen. And I was an area scout with the Yankees in Southern California, and I would actually use that in the minor leagues when I had professional coverage in the summer. So the California League in 1993 were out there with this new formula. And people really didn't think that there was a lot of that going on, right? It was an old scout with a fishing cap, and he would use his eyeballs to pick players. But we were always using stats. But I think as time went on, and I went into the front office, and we were trying to use as much data as we could, there just wasn't much available.
Mm-hmm.
What I've seen over time is that pendulum has swung way far to the data side. And I think for me, what you're seeing now is a kind of swing back towards somewhere in the middle, where data supports decisions, helps derive some decisions, but at the same time doesn't dominate the decision. And so I think, over the course of my career, I started where there was very little data to none, hardly, except back of a bubblegum card kind of stats,
Right.
to all the way now where you have to be a NASA scientist to understand a lot of it. So,
but you see it coming back to the middle.
I think it has already. I mean, I've talked a few years ago to some people that were in it, and I said there's a natural swing back that's going to take place. And that's exactly what happened. Joe Madden and I were having lunch, and he was asking me what I thought was the best setup for the major league level. And I really thought that it's a baseball-minded, Dusty Baker type of guy that's probably not the most analytical stat guy in the world. Love him to death. Don't get me wrong. He's from Sacramento now. Del Campo.
Absolutely.
Guys, that's Dusty to me. So don't be messing with him. But at the same time, I think it's that guy that is open to statistical research to help him make decisions. But at the same time, he can be the gatekeeper. Because in all this data analytics that you see nowadays, it's all great in terms of helping you make a decision. But at the same time, there's a practical application to it.
Mm.
And so the theory of the stats and what's most probable is very, very helpful. But at the same time, it's the practical application where the rubber meets the road is really going to determine whether you're successful or not. But you can't have a baseball old school type of guy that doesn't want to hear about the stats.
Right.
He doesn't want to see the data. He has to be open to it and be able to say, okay, this is when we're going to use this. And this stat here helps me make this decision or supports why I'm doing this. All of that is added information that needs to be. So that type of setup, I think, is perfect. If you have the data really support whatever, whether it's an amateur scouting, whether it's in the minor leagues or whether it's a major league level or a given night, when that data does not know how that player is going at the time, what his confidence level's like, all that's going on in making this decision, that the manager is there to actually be able to take what's right, make the right decision with all the information that he has, if I'm explaining that correctly.
No, it makes perfect sense. I think if you're a reasonable person in any line of work and you hear or you at least, let's just say, have some information about Major League Baseball, know that it's, being driven towards data. I think it makes sense, right? Like being able to defend decisions, number one, or number two, wanting to make the right decision if you're running a baseball club. I think it makes perfect sense. I think where it becomes a problem, and if you ask players, I think players would tell you like it's obviously too much, where they, whether it's the models that they're using, don't take into account kind of the human element enough. When you were with the Rockies, did you guys, and I'm trying to think, this may have even been before teams were really going heavy into modeling in the draft. Did you guys use a model in the draft there?
Not really. The model, you can say it's model, it's more of a profile. So you would profile by position, right? So
Okay.
hit, run, throw, power, field, and you would model that by position, right? Your catcher, you don't worry about the run so much. Your top two priorities for that position are catch and throw, right? Maybe hit third. So now you put that kind of in order. So that is modeling, as you're talking about it. Modeling as it relates to profiling is what we call it. So you would profile by position, and really that's the same. But in terms of using any type of data or whatever, I mean, it's just there's a subjective feel, right? Or subjective understanding of looking out at a field and trying to pick players. And at the same time, there's objective standards as well in terms of what you would see in arm strength. Now they might record it in miles per hour, right, with a radar gun and a position player throwing. But I would say it's the same type of thing, just a lot more data now to support it.
Right.
And that's the thing for me. That's what was so exciting about a lot of the data that was coming about, was that now you have more information to make the right decisions. And
well, yeah, and if you're running a baseball team like you were, right, that obviously helps, because I think what a lot of these fans don't realize, there's a lot of pressure on you guys to make the right decisions, right?
Well, no doubt. I mean, that's the thing about professional sports. If people, oh, that's a great job and it's this and that. Yeah, you screw up one night and it's in the paper the next morning. Right. Now it's on the internet in about 10 minutes that something happened or this and that. So, yeah, there is a lot, definitely a lot of pressure. I mean, I wrote a book a while back, Do You Want to Work in Baseball? And in the book I described, I really wanted to try to get the reader to understand the feeling of when at the time, the stories about me in the position of calling up a player to the major league level and the anxiety that I felt because I was kind of standing alone on that decision. And the nervousness that I had sitting up in the press box watching this game and just do something positive. Just one thing, just a little bit positive somehow, so I can frame this as a positive outcome, please. And that's the thing I think that people really don't understand that. And it's easy to go on Twitter and bash people and this and that, but there's so many. These decisions are organizational decisions. And people don't understand about that some of these decisions that you make have taken into consideration professional scouting, amateur scouting, where you're at with the payroll, right? And your future commitments and what your payroll looks like projected out, years of service time. All these things are factored in. And then your fan base at times as well. And so now you're trying to figure all that out and how this player might fit into a clubhouse. What are the other players going to think? All these things that you do that go into that. And it's easy to chip at anybody, I think, with these 30 clubs or in any other sport that, they made a bad decision. But at times it can be. I'm not making excuses for people and everybody out there, because there's a lot of things to shoot at right now that I see in Major League Baseball. But I kind of hold myself back a little bit because I know what it's like and all the things that go into making those decisions.
Hey, you've earned the right. You were there in 2007, right, when you guys went to the World Series.
Yeah, no doubt. That was really a fun time for us organizationally. We'd really projected as 2008 to be our year and to emerge basically a year early. I don't know if Matt Holliday, if he touched that plate. I mean, to me, he did. That's all I know. And we beat San Diego to get in the playoffs and we're continued that run. And just such a great group of guys, really, to me. And that's what people don't understand. These teams that are playing late are teams. They're playing for each other. They're not playing for anything else but to make sure that they're taking care of their job for everybody else in that clubhouse. And it's very easy to see, I think, when you see some groups of players, even in spring training, and you don't feel like they're a tight-knit bunch, well, your season and the outcome of that season is probably going to be what you're feeling then, unless somehow they can create that cohesiveness to really build as a group, because the strong groups are going to be playing. They have to be talented, and they better have a really good bullpen if you plan on playing this late. But at the same time, they better be cohesive and they better be a group. Otherwise, you probably have no shot. That's why, like in 2007, that group, I think I don't know if it's a record or whatever, but 17 homegrown players were on that team. So when 17 out of your 25 players are homegrown and they've all come up together, that's a pretty close group.
No
And that's
question.
and unless you're going to be out just picking free agents and playing, fantasy baseball with some of these payrolls that other clubs enjoy. And I've been with the two that are in the World Series this year. I probably worked for both of them, so I know what it's like. But if you're not going to be really in that type of scenario, you're a middle market club. That's where it's the most difficult.
Yeah, 17 homegrown players on a World Series roster is impressive.
Yeah, but you have to do that as a homegrown club or as a lower market club. But really in the middle is the difficulty. When you look at the landscape of 30 teams, you can take the 10 in the middle, and maybe even a little bit more than that, maybe up to 15 clubs in the middle. It's really a difficult exercise because you can't commit the majority of your payroll to 3 or 4 players. The fans want you to, because those are the great players that they get to see on a regular basis. At the same time, you still have to be able to afford with your payroll all the other players that are going to help you win. Right. And so when you're at the top and you have all the money, it's easy to just go out and spend on players. You have money. When you don't have any money, your decisions are not even decisions, because you're just taking a good player and hopefully putting them out in the trade market to get 3 back. And everybody knows that you can't sign them or extend them to some $300 million. And now we're getting into the $700 million deals. You can't do that. So you don't really have decisions. The clubs in the middle are the ones that I really like to watch, because when you see them do well, it's scouting and player development. They produce their own players to fill in the gaps, and maybe they've extended 1 or 2, that type of thing, where they've spent a lot of their payroll on those players, but it's a really difficult exercise.
So Geivett, let's talk about that a little bit. So with the draft, when you're running a ball club, give the listener an understanding, like how often are you going on the road to see players that are draft eligible?
It all depends on your position. When I was overseeing like scouting and player development, and we were fortunate, we had a mature scouting staff. Billy Schmidt was the scouting director at the time. Danny Montgomery was a national cross-checker. And we had a mature group of scouts that had been with the organization, really were close. It was a close-knit group. They all worked well together, and then worked well with player development. I really acted as a farm director a few years, and then we had Mark Gustafson that was a farm director. And then, so I could go out a lot, and the scouts and Billy, they'd line up players for me to go see that were in position to either take, liked, maybe didn't know if we wanted to take them. And those guys knew exactly what round they'd probably be available. And those were the type of decisions that I would go in and just watch. So I'd see every year probably close to the players that were probably 75 of the top 100, I think I'd see. And then after that, maybe run into some other players, obviously, at the SEC tournament or ACC tournament or whatever, just some other players that maybe we might not have interest in, but we're going to be available in some spots depending on what happened in the draft, because the draft it's a fluid situation, right? You never know who's going to be there. You kind of think you have an idea where players project to go, but at the same time, there's always surprises.
Let's talk about that, because I think a lot of parents, obviously, those who have not been through the draft, I oftentimes tell them, look, It doesn't matter where anybody's telling you, oh, you're definitely a first rounder. You're going to be a top 10 pick, whatever it is. You really don't know. The only person that's really going to know is that guy going 1-1, right? Most of the time. And the only team that really knows is the team picking 1-1 for the most part.
That's right.
How stressful is it for an organization going through the draft? Because I know these parents know that it can be a stressful thing. But what about from an organization's perspective with how quick things move?
Well, for a scout and a scouting staff, that's opening day, right? I mean, you've been preparing and doing all that you do all summer long. You got to remember, these guys are in the Cape Cod League in the summer watching for next year's draft in July. They're out watching, perfect game tournaments and, the one thing they just had in Jupiter, the big tournament and all that. They've been following these players, watching them as an underclassman, and now following them all the way through. So to get to the point where I've worked all year, I've driven all these miles, I've gotten on all these 6 o'clock plane flights in the morning, trying to get to a game or get to a tournament. I've done that all year long with all these follow lists, writing 100 reports, in some cases hundreds. And getting to the point now where they're going to be up on the board and a chance to take with players that it's human nature, you're always going to really want to get a couple of them. There's going to be a couple that you say, okay, all these other drafts are fine, but these two players I have to get. And so they're going to go in a room, and now with a bunch of, I'd say, like-minded people that they always have a couple too, and then you're going to hash it out and try to make your case for why this player is the reason that your club's going to go to the World Series. And that's what people, I think, for the draft, the one thing that gets missed to me that it would, I don't say really bothered me, but at times would be frustrating, is that, and I was an area scout, so I get it. So count me in that group, all right? But when you feel like that scouting staffs almost get put in position to scout for the draft, because it's a snapshot of a time where this is the only applicant pool or group of players that are available. So what happens is you start ranking them in that order, when in fact there's going to be good drafts and bad drafts. There's going to be a lot of major league players out of each draft, but at the same time, it's no different than when you're out in the schoolyard playing kickball. You're picking a team. Which player is going to help our big league club? I don't care about the draft, because when you say this player can not only be impactful on our big league club, but can help us be our club win a championship, who cares where you take him in the draft?
Right.
Who cares where you line them up? And those players should be gravitating to the very top of your list if you have more confidence in them being that, not just to say, well, I really have a lot of confidence in this guy, so he's going to be in the first round. Okay, I get it. But when you get to the second, third round or whatever, and they'll have, and I would do it. So I'm not blaming anybody, but you would have players above somebody you really felt good about because you thought it was the mechanics of the draft. This player is probably going to go in the second round, so I kind of like him, whatever. So I'll have him on this spot on my list, where there's a guy underneath that you really like more than him. And you think he's going to be the big leaguer. He's going to be the one. And you're going out to try to pick who are the big league players, not where they go in the draft. Because of the consensus of the scouting world and Baseball America believe that he's a lesser player. We don't care about them. We didn't hire them. We hired you to find us players that can help us win a championship.
So when you talk about good player development, right? And obviously, again, with 17 players in the World Series, you guys were obviously doing something right. What is the difference between an organization that develops players well and one that doesn't? I mean, is that good coaching? Is it, obviously, I think it's a combination of having the right player, but like what else goes into that?
I'll take it more as a construct or conceptually. Whatever is important at the major league level, and you hear that people will try to be consistent with what they do at the big league level and all the way down. But I think it goes a little deeper than that. If you're going to fit into a major league clubhouse and actually win championships, then how you handle yourself as a teammate is really important. Your connection with other players is really important, right? Forget about all the tools and all the other stuff. What are the personal characteristics of a true professional that can help us win championships? That's where I think the top down really works, where you say, okay, if you're going to be a valuable major league player, and they're all valuable, anybody that could play at the big league level to me is of extreme value. That's very hard to do. So, and they're freaks, by the way. I mean, not only they have impactful skills, tools, and talent, but they have the durability to handle this marathon of a season all the way through the minor leagues, off season, and then get to the big leagues. I mean, who in the heck is that's hard to do. So whatever's important there, you should be really disciplined to make sure that your players are in line with that. Otherwise, you're doing them a disservice. So if I'm going to be in some type of farm director of player development, whatever I feel like is important at the big league level, then I'm extremely focused that we are training them to be that. So now get into the skills a little bit. They don't sacrifice bunt very well, but you know when they do? This time of year. So if we're going to win or lose a championship, because somebody can, well, you're going to learn how to bunt. I don't care if we don't bunt that much and we don't like doing it and whatever else, but to win a championship, you're going to have to be able to do it. So we're going to be hyper-focused on these things that it takes to win a championship. So when you put your standard as a championship level, then it's really easy, I think, at the minor league level to make sure these players can do that. At the same time, I think there's a natural reaction of, oh, he's just an A-ball. We'll kind of work through that. And some of these players go all the way through the system because of their talent level and their ability to stay healthy and develop, that they end up getting to the big league. And those problems are still there. You didn't fix them. And that's really the issue for me. So I think when you look, I'll go back to Montreal when we had those players. I'll still get some phone calls from some players or direct messages on social media about something I told them and wish they would have listened and blah, blah, blah. And I'm having trouble remembering some of these conversations, but at the same time, I'll take their word for it. But it's really the truth that I was very focused on little things that win championships. And I think that's, and our staff was as well, that's really what helped. The level of standard that you operate at, I don't care. If you're trying to win a championship, you can win it in rookie ball. It's the championship 5 years later that we're trying to win today in rookie ball. Or that we're trying to win in A-ball. And it's the environment that you allow that helps you develop the type of environment you're going to have at the big league level.
I just saw a clip today, and it was a split screen of Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, obviously two football coaches who, well, Saban was in college, no longer is. And he was talking to his players about tucking the back of their shirt in when they were practicing.
Right.
And then Kirby Smart gets asked, like, what is that? Like, why? What's the big deal? Right. And I think today, with the way the players are, it's like, let me kind of be myself, just like get off my back kind of thing. And Kirby Smart said, he goes, it's this little stuff that is going to give me confidence in you when it's literally the game's on the line. It's 4th and 4. I'm trusting that you're not going to jump off sides.
Right.
It's like, it's just doing the little stuff. So to your point, I think it makes all the sense in the world. And you started this off by saying, be a good teammate. What does that mean? What is being a good, like, if there's a player listening to this and this guy's getting called up to the big leagues tomorrow, right? And he needs to learn how to be a good teammate in the big leagues. What does that look like?
The good teammate to me makes everybody around him better. And what I mean by that is they're there for everybody. So I can be a bench player and not even play much, an extra outfielder. And I've seen some of them that were great teammates. They didn't actually participate on the field all the time, but they participated in protecting the environment, that it was a championship environment. They worked harder than the guys that were starting and brought them, making sure that they were doing the things they needed to do. That type of thing to me of when you're a good teammate, and that's how I just judge players. Is this player going to bring up our environment? Is this player going to help keep it the same, or is he going to take it down? And to me, I can say, honestly, that's a good teammate. If I can say this guy's a good teammate, then he's bringing our energy level and our environment and our respect for what we're doing as a group up. And that's, I think, all you're trying to do. Because the higher you bring the environment as you want it to be at a championship level, I think the more you're going to achieve. And so it's really important, even at the minor league level, that they learn that right away. Your responsibility is to the other players in this clubhouse that you're doing everything you can to help us achieve. And to me, those are the players that are the most valuable. Is that they really feel like at some point somebody say, we say these guys are getting this kind of money and these millions of dollars. And well, somebody's investing in them because they think they're going to put up stats. But the ones that get the longer term contracts, they know that they're helping bring up the environment. They're a great teammate and they're going to make everybody better. That's how you really get paid a lot.
Right. Well, and it's in this game, there's so many things in baseball that you cannot control, but you can control being a good teammate. You can control supporting your teammate, right?
No doubt. And there's players also that you need to understand when you're young. And I'll use like rookie ball and A ball. And I call them, I tell guys all the time, look, you want to go to AA, you're hitting pretty good, whatever. You're showing up late. You're bringing everybody else at your distraction to everybody else who's trying to actually achieve something for us and them individually. Your distraction. That's an A-ball problem. Go ahead and hit 350. You're right where you belong in A-ball. We'll start moving you up to a man's league, AA, right? We'll get you up into there when you can handle yourself up there, because those guys are doing the same thing, and I don't want a distraction up there. So you do your thing down here, and if you continue to do, you can just stay here. I know this is pretty easy stuff to fix, but that's up to you, because you don't understand the responsibility that you have to everybody else, and you don't show them the respect of, I'm not going to be distractful to you. I'm going to try to help you do what you're trying to do, and we're all going to get up there together. That's the type of mentality that you're really trying to build.
So, Geivett, I want to talk about what you're doing now, because obviously, so you left the Rockies, and then you obviously, as you mentioned, you became an author and you wrote the book. Remind me of the title again.
Do you want to work in baseball? Come on, Matt. You didn't read it? I thought you would have read it by now.
I didn't want to look at my sheet. I have it right here in front of me.
To send you a copy? Is that what it is? I'll send you one.
Hold on. So what was the impetus behind you wanting to write that? Was it just people having asked you over the years, or?
You got it. Over the years of, I was 21 years in the front office. How many times people would call me about their kid or somebody wanting advice on how to get in the big leagues or, be a GM someday and all these things that you hear. I said, one of these days I'm going to write a book on, really how to do this, and then chronicle how I was taught scouting and player development started with the Yankees. Now, you got to remember, when I coached in college at Loyola Marymount, coached at Long Beach State, the early dirtbag years.
Yeah.
And then from there, they changed the rules where you couldn't practice or play as much in the fall. And I wanted more baseball. So I put the word out that I'm ready to go. Clubs had tried to hire me to get back into professional baseball after my playing career. And I finally put the word out, and I got 3 offers, and another group of people wanted to talk to me. But I had heard that Bill Livesey was really, really good at this. In fact, at the time, Paul Snyder was over in Atlanta. Bill Livesey was with the Yankees. And I had a chance to go with Bill Livesey, and that's where I wanted to learn. So I'm the only man alive, Matt, that's taken a pay cut to go with the New York Yankees. Okay.
Wow.
From Long Beach State to the New York Yankees, I took a pay cut and went to work for them. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it was great working for Mr. Livesey. At the time, you got to remember when I left the Yankees, Bernie was kind of up and down at the big league level. Posada, Pettit, and Rivera were in AA. Jeter was an A-ball. And that's from Bill Livesey and another mature scouting staff that he had working for them. And it was phenomenal. You also had Brian Sabian in the front office.
Uh-huh.
And so from that standpoint, you had talented people. And Mr. Livesey taught me a lot about how that works. And that's what I wanted to chronicle in there. So I saw the game kind of turning into more analytics, math majors, right, that were entering in. So I really wanted to write a book to help support them more than anything. But also given Oregon, I didn't think there was any book around that had really a comprehensive but organized way to look at scouting and player development from a qualitative standpoint. There's a lot of books that you can go find quantitative formulas and why this formula is the best and blah, blah, blah. From an analytics standpoint, I wanted to write it in support of all the baseball people that have been around a long time that kind of knew a lot of this stuff, but nobody had really ever put it down or put it down in a comprehensive way because of how I was taught by Mr. Livesey, that I was able to do that and put it in that organized fashion of how you look at the different levels of minor league baseball, how you look at young players as opposed to major league players, how you look at scouting. And when you go out and you're going to learn how to scout, I figured that there was a whole generation of people that were coming into baseball that probably might have played in high school. Some of them not even that. Right? They were the team manager or helped with stats or kept score or did whatever they could because they just had a love of baseball. And at the same time, they were going into college and then viewed somehow Major League Baseball as a career path and wanted to learn. So I did that. But at the same time, for people that are out in the field, if you're a coach, a lot of coaches know a lot of technique of either hitting, pitching, or infield play, outfield play, but they may not understand a farm director's perspective. They may not understand a front office type of perspective. And I think that's what I tried to do in the book is kind of relay all that from not only my training with Mr. Livesey, but my experiences. So I have stories that support why I believe a certain way. But mostly it's just what I learned. It's not me trying to preach or do anything. It's just, here's a story that supports why I view this that way because of what I learned. You make your own judgments.
Well, and it sounds too that, for any of the parents that are listening who has a kid coming up, I feel like they should read this book because just give them some perspective. And granted, it was your experience. It may not be exactly the same for them or their son, but it'll at least give them a taste or a flavor of, kind of what goes on at the next level.
No, I think to me, the demographic that should be reading it are the players. Because the players now understand how they're scouted and how they're viewed. They may even look at their position that they want to play, and people are telling them to play another position, but they don't want because those coaches may understand your future is at another position just because of how scouting works. And so for them to be able to go in there and understand a little bit more of, hey, sports is the only thing, right? They don't give you the answers. You're graded out by hoping you get a call on draft
Right.
day, right? That's how you're graded, and that's how you're viewed, instead of actually understanding the process of how it works. For me, players should be reading, certainly parents, coaches are really understanding how that goes. And to me, of course, I wrote the book, but it's a pretty easy way, I think, a simple way to kind of understand it and even grade yourself out. I've had some veteran players that are retired, and they'd read the book and call me, and I said, okay, where'd you grade out? He goes, not as good as I thought I would. I said, well, there you go. It's the same way I saw you. No,
that's great.
But they get a better understanding of really where they could have improved or where they should have spent their time because of, like I said, profiling these positions. Here are the priority tools. Here's what we're looking at. So if you play center field and you just don't want to run those last couple extra sprints, I think you understand that I better run a couple more than the last couple.
Right.
Because I'm going to compete against the players, the most talented players in the world, eventually at that position.
Mm-hmm.
And you better understand the standard that you're trying to meet, because it's lofty.
Well, I tell kids that are like shortstops in high school too. I said, you're looking around and you're seeing the kid on the other team and you're thinking, that's the kid that I'm competing with. That's not the kid that you're competing with. You're competing with that kid in the Dominican,
that's right,
who's been playing short his whole life, who, they're at the field all day. That's the kid that you're competing with.
Yeah, it's the best players on the planet. That's all there. That's the only way to look at it. I mean, if you can go out and if you've watched, I've been fortunate, and people say, oh yeah, you can judge players and do it. Yeah, but I mean, I'm cheating basically. I know what it's like not only to play. I've played against players, got to watch them, evaluate them as we were playing, see them in their career. Then I go coach in college and I see that level. And I get to see who does well and who, it was easy to see Mike Mussina at Stanford. Don't get me wrong. When I saw him, I had just got done playing, and I walked over watching him throw, warming up. And, this is going to be a tough day. Hitting this guy. But at the same time, then going in and scouting, right? And then a farm director, where now every year I'm seeing every single level at all times for 21 years. Well, yeah, I got an idea who can play where and what level they'll get to, where they'll struggle, what's going to be the pinch point that he's going to have to improve on to keep on moving. All those things they're pretty simple when you're afforded that luxury. But come on, you're blessed at that point to be able to see all these different levels on a day-to-day basis, rather than just going out and trying to be like an area scout. And that's all you're seeing is high school and college level, maybe a little bit of pro coverage in the summer. It's really different. But, at the same time, sometimes I try to tell people, and I'm not going to push it on anybody, but sometimes people don't listen. That's okay. That's okay. I've got years of studying this. We didn't have a lot of stats to distract us. We had to watch. And that ability to watch and really pay attention and study, that, people
so
say,
important.
How can you go out there on a one look and do whatever? Well, that's what I was paid for. When I go out and see those players for the draft at the end, I'm getting one look.
I love that you just said that, because so many of these players, I think, assume, let's say they have the expectation of, I think I have a chance to be a first round pick because that's what the industry's told me I am. And I think what they think is like, I'm being seen by every scout in the world every game that I play. And while there may be a scout there every game you play, it's not the same organization. It's not the guy that ultimately is making the decision, let's say. And so that guy making the decision, he may only see you one time.
Yeah.
Right?
That's all you get.
So how did you look that day?
Well, it's the old theory of, you'll see some of these guys get put in the Hall of Fame and they'll say, they played hard every day because they knew there was a little kid showing up that may only get to see them play one time. And it's the same,
right.
It's same conceptually as what you're talking about. That if you can take that type of feeling of I'm coming out here because this might be the only time somebody gets to see me play. You got to have some arrogance to that if they haven't put you in the Hall of Fame yet. But at the same time, I think that's what you're doing. You're trying to impress everybody that you go out with your skills, not to get outside yourself, but to be the best player you can be every day. That's what's training you. That type of thought process, that's what I'm talking about. If you have your standard that high as a player, and you have that standard and you carry that into the minor leagues where it's tough and you got to get on a bus and do whatever and blah, blah, blah. And, they act like it's tough. Come on, I did it. It's not that tough. It was fun. Kidding me? But you want to do that and you have that type of standard where you're going to be the best player that you can be every day. Steve Springer has a great quote, right? Every day is opening day.
Yeah, that is good.
Every day is opening day. That feeling that you get of opening day and how excited you are, bring that to every day that you play.
Right.
It's one of the best quotes ever because right away I said, that's what you're trying to build in players. You got to know that you're getting ready to tee it up. And when you go out to play, I'm going to show the best version of myself every day. You log all those days together like that, you'll know, and this is the most important thing about being a major league player to me, is knowing that you put the work in and did everything you could to build the confidence that you belong. Mm-hmm. So when you show up to a major league clubhouse, you know you belong. And you know what? You're even a little entitled to be there because you've done all the work and you've passed all the tests and you've made yourself be that person showing the best version of themselves every day, that I belong here. These guys are no different than me. We've all done the work and I belong. Not getting there wondering how I'm going to be, or maybe even lack confidence of how you're going to perform. No. The best ones they get in there. Okay, there's a little bit of anxiety here at the big league. They give you the first week or so. But after that, you can really tell who's there to stay and who's there to be a tourist and then head back down.
Nobody wants to do that, Guyvo.
Nobody
wants to do that.
Yeah. I don't, if there's a better league than that to play in, I don't know where it is, but I know it. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. And it's great to see when for me, like I was texting with Fernando Arenado the other day about my app and stuff, and we're just texting, and he's getting his the Arenado Baseball Academy on there, and we're texting about that. But I was thinking back while we're texting that, Nolan's first day in the big leagues, and I go up and see the family, and to watch that, a player prior to the draft, meeting with the family, talking to Nolan, and then watching all the, he had some struggles here and there or whatever. Not really, but kind of. And then, he gets to the big league level and he's arrived, and, to see him there and then to see the family so happy, those are still some of my best memories of watching players that go, when you know them all the way before the draft and then watch them all the way in the minor leagues, and you see the families pretty much on a regular basis, right? A couple times a year at least. And then to get to the big league level, it's really a family achievement. There's a lot of car rides and double headers, tournaments.
Right.
People or parents are out of control, in my estimation, of how much they have to do now. All the lessons, all the, whatever to get there, and your kids play in the big leagues. Give me a break.
It's crazy.
How happy is that? Because there's so many of them that, it doesn't work out that way, which is really the norm. Right. But to see the ones that do, it's really, really fun to watch.
So tell us about what you're doing right now with your company.
Yeah, right now I really felt like, I wrote the book when I was leaving the Rockies. I always wanted to write the book to help some people, and I did that. And then I really felt like I wanted to be able to do things on a bigger scale to really help people. Especially kids in their activities. Well, you got to create a company that's worth a lot of money to do that, right? To be benevolent, you got to have a big company behind you. So basically what I did is I did a kind of a group team connection. I knew I had to be involved in sports. And I really felt like there wasn't anything as it relates to social media that really focused in on sports or group activities. We'll be involved with a lot of college groups too, or club sports or what have you. I really try to create a social connection, not only with that, but with their calendar. And I didn't feel like there was much going on in terms of social media with a calendar and really connecting everybody with events and how do you promote events at the same time. Got a patent on e-commerce retail portal that we'll be bringing out later. That's really a way for, say, clubs to handle all their business in a social aspect, kind of like a hybrid. They're used to enclosed environment apps right now.
Uh-huh.
I won't mention any names, but whether they're chat apps or team sport apps that are closed environment, they're just with your team. So the parents are on there, but the kids have no way of really promoting themselves, whether that be for scholarships, whether that be for NIL and opportunities, or whether that be at the major league level for sponsorships and that type of thing that you do at the big league level in advertising and marketing. So really being able to put all that together, in my mind, as a way for high school kids and youth sports, all the way down to people, and then especially the person that is just volunteering and doing whatever, a free way to be able to do that and organize and schedule with their team and all that. And at the same time, at the highest level, where you can, as a major league club, you're going to want to be on here for your fans and season ticket holders and everybody else. So,
oh, interesting. So you're going to have all that too.
Oh yeah, we're at every level. In fact, I've met the Diamondbacks, and Derek Hall's there, and Jackie runs their senior VP of communications, and they've been helping to advise on that. Met with them a couple times. We're going to meet a few more, but they've been very generous with their time to really help us put the best product together. So when we do meet with the Lakers or Manchester United or whoever, that they have the product that they would want as well. So the Diamondbacks have been advising. So among other teams, I've talked to some personnel with other major league clubs as well. So I think it'll be great for anybody that's involved, athletes that are involved in sports and the type of communities that you can build on there. And then especially if you have events, so if you're trying to promote camps and clinics or practice tomorrow, that you have the type of functionality that you can't get anywhere in terms of kind of a one-stop shop.
So Geivett, if you're a coach listening, okay, and you want to know more about this and you want to sign up, what should they do?
They go to Apple or Google. We're up now. And they look for I'm a Team. IMA is how you spell it. Team. And go on there, and they can sign up, get the app. It's free. All your team members are free, and you start your organization, because in your organization you have public and private groups. So you can have your players in a private group, your fans and everybody in a public group. And so in your public calendar, you can put your events and just go from there. If you want to, there is an upgrade off the free to link payment or RSVP or to bring in admins to help you. It's $59.99 for the year. So basically $5 a month. But if you just want to communicate and use the calendar and all that, you can. But if you need a little bit more or want to do more, as far as, because you can link anything on there, signups or what have you, if you just upgrade. But it's a low cost. I'm trying to keep it where it's as low cost as possible. I'm trying to help youth sports and teams actually have something that they can do that is well under what you have to pay for, right? Because we're in the user game. So at some point we'll be able to sell advertising and do whatever. That'll come later. But right now it's just a matter of getting people on and being able to use the app and make suggestions. Just because I've been in baseball forever, I want people to tell us what they want. And if we can build it out, because it covers all sports.
Right.
So it's a group team. So if you're a group in college at a fraternity, you can use it.
What if you have like a training facility?
Yeah, we have 108 performances on.
Oh, okay.
We have Frozen Ropes in New York. Right. We
Nice.
have Be Complete Athletics softball in Oklahoma City. So we
That's
have
great.
a pro show in Show Cali in the Bay Area. And they're on and using it, and they put their teams on and do their thing. And that's all.
I love it.
We ask. Yeah. We just want people to go in where there's not, some hefty fees or what have you.
Right.
And we cover what we can cover for everybody. You're still going to have probably your website that you link a sign up and it's got to go into the website where you have it in your system, that type of thing. But nothing extraordinary from our end is what I'm trying to do. And we've got a lot of things coming. Like I alluded to, the being able to sell your gear or whatever, but a lot more than that in terms of players being able to promote themselves. And then, all the other aspects of having a team, especially nonprofits, which is really, really important to me. So,
yeah, look, there's definitely a need for this. There's no question. I mean, even this interaction right here, we scheduled on the app.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you hit the RSVP, which I appreciate. And so I knew we were going to have it. No, it works great. Cool. I mean, the people that are on it, they really like it. So, my hope is that I can build up this company and do all that we do. Some of our early investors are like Vinny Castilla and Jorge De La Rosa and Oscar Suarez that tell me they can handle Mexico and help us out. But really, a great way, I think, for us to build a big company where at some point then I can go to the foundation right after I get all my stuff in. And I can go to the foundation, and our foundation really focuses in on youth sports and providing clinics and tournaments for free or no charge, or helping youth sport clubs that need the help. Or my Little League is gone. I played in Little League, like I said, right after the war. And then, and then now it's not even around. It's been gone for 20 years. To bring Little Leagues back and do those things and help fix fields and do all that, but also whether it's in music or wherever, there's kids that need some support. Because I honestly believe, I talked a lot about the standard that you have at the minor league level, right? And the players being the best version of themselves every day to try to be valuable in a major league clubhouse and on a major league team. But at the same time, I think that standard is what I experienced as a young kid. So I don't think that young kids are disadvantaged just financially. They're disadvantaged in opportunities to see or to picture themselves at a much higher level. You know what I mean? Yeah. I learned throwing the ball against the bricks in front of my house, thinking about playing for the Oakland A's. So somehow I got this feeling about I want to be at the big league level when I was 6 years old, just because I used to watch the Oakland A's on TV every night. Right. So that was built into me at a very young age. And I think there's a lot of kids that they might get off track in terms of some negative influences or doing whatever, because they never think of themselves with these grand expectations of where they want to go. I didn't get there as a player, but I got there as a front office guy. The same thing. But I think in terms of how we view the youth of today. I think there's a lot more support they can get just in experiences. They're disadvantaged in experience of people that have expectations of them. So they can dream about doing the thing. And then once they start dreaming, now they start plotting a path.
Right. Well, I think to pay you a compliment, I think it's important to have people like you who have some pretty interesting life experience around the game and a really big heart at the same time.
Well,
right.
That's nice of you to say. Yeah, I think so. But, at the same time, I alluded to Bill Livesey. There's Jerry Weinstein. There's Nate Harris I played for in high school. And there's just, so many people along the way. Al Ferrer at Santa Barbara that really put me in position. I feel so blessed to be around people like that. Mr. Stanley as a young kid and Mr. Winley and Alan Osher, my, youth coaches that never let me take a day off and were pressing me all the time. That, those things, I feel like in some ways, I can be Mr. Stanley to some people. And, certainly, and maybe at that point, I can feel like I've actually done something except making a few players millionaires.
That's great.
But I enjoyed that too. I mean, I love all of it. I just like action. So, but this is what we're focused on with the company and finding like-minded people that really want to help in terms of that. They really, in their heart, they want to do something good. And at the same time, I think this will be a very valuable operation. We'll make a lot of money off of corporations. We'll let them pay the freight. How about that?
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, for anybody listening who wants to check it out, everybody needs to check it out. I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you can just click on that, or like Gaivo said, go to the App Store. Gaivo, we got to do round 2 here soon, man, because that was a lot of good stuff.
Man,
we covered like a 10th of what I thought we were going to talk about.
No, for a Panther, man, I'm here for you. Come on, the Panthers are on there. Did you follow them?
I don't think I did.
Yeah,
I need to.
Go. You see, that's what I'm saying. I need to get some funding to put up the Discovery deal and some fundraising things on there too for teams. But yeah, no, make sure you follow them. So
I will.
That'll be great.
But wanted to thank you for your time. I can't thank you enough. This is great. Yeah. I know all these parents and players are going to appreciate the insight that you provided.
Hey, if it's helping them, players and parents, bring it on. Get me on here again. If they think I'm helping, I'm all for it. So
I love it.
All right.
Well, be well, Gaivo, and we will have you on again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.